Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. I hope you're all really well. I am back, bigger and stronger, and this is Carl Wrestling. So today I'm joined with Jonas from Wrestling with Jonas, absolutely brilliant podcaster. How are you, mate?
I'm very, very well, and you're too kind. I appreciate the kind words there, but yeah, I'm doing really, really well. I'm happy to be speaking to you, and lots of cool things to talk about, I hope.
Yeah, lots. So, first of all, how is the podcast going with Wrestling with Jonas?
It's going really, really well. We've just completed 2 years, Carl. So back in November, we hit our 2 year anniversary, which is
Wow.
absolutely fantastic. I celebrated by doing 8 podcasts in 8 days, which was a hell of an effort. Did so many cool things like the greatest Wrestling with Jonas interviews. We broke that down in 2 episodes. And the most popular interview, believe it or not, was Mr. Mike Mad Dog Angus. He got the most votes, so he was number one in the whole poll. And I'd say definitely deserved, because Mike is an amazing guy,
Yeah.
and it was a fantastic interview, certainly one of my favorite interviews. But yes, we also released during that kind of 8 episodes in 8 days another episode where Mike Angus and John Scott actually guested on the show to try and figure out the greatest intercontinental champions in WWE or WWF history. So that was really, really fun. Go and check that out. But the podcast is going from strength to strength. And I think I mentioned to you off air that I've just come back from a 2 month break where I took most of November and December off just to relax and kind of chill out a little bit and forget about podcasting for a little while, which you need to do from time to time. It's the first time I've had a decent break in 2 years. Like I say, in the first 2 years, knocked out over 160 episodes in them 2 years.
Wow.
So I needed 2 months just to kind of switch off a little bit. And I've come back 2021 more enthusiastic, more hungry, and like I say, hopefully bigger than ever.
So, in those 2 years, who is your favorite? Who was your favorite guests?
Oh, you like to ask the difficult question, the hard questions. This is why you're such a good interviewer, Kyle. I have had the kind of honor and the pleasure of interviewing so many fantastic wrestlers over them 2 years. I've interviewed the likes of Sean Custom, CJ Carter, Gary Michael Capetta, a former WCW ring announcer. Crikey. Let's see. I've interviewed Mike Mad Dog Angus and Chantel Jordan. Chantel has got a very, very bright future ahead of her. She's only 17, I believe. And yeah, I mean, some of the people that she's already fought in her 2 year career has been mind blowing. She's got a very, very bright future ahead of her. I'm sure she's going to be working for a big promotion in the next 3 or 4 years. Probably my favorite interview, I think, has to be with you may be familiar with Matt Sydal, former Evan Bourne in WWE. Matt
Yeah.
Sydal's just signed with AEW. His brother, who is a very experienced, very accomplished pro wrestler called Mike Sydal. He goes by the nickname of the Yoga Monster, and he's wrestled all around the States. He's wrestled for Dragon Gate Japan, over in Japan, of course. He's wrestled all across America, but he's kind of more familiar, certainly in the last couple of years, of wrestling for a Denver-based wrestling group called Lucha Libre and Laughs. And I've done a series of interviews with wrestling personalities from Lucha Libre and Laughs, but I think my interview that I did with Mike Sydal from June of last year is probably my favorite episode. We also, if you watch the YouTube version, we get an appearance from Mike's dog called Pumpkin, and Pumpkin made an appearance on the interview, and that was quite fun to have Pumpkin on the podcast as well. But he tells us all about his time working over in Japan, working for Lucha Libre and Laughs. He's worked as a enhancement talent for WWE on Monday Night Raw and 205 Live. And he's got so many amazing stories to tell. And I think the episode that we did went about an hour, and
Wow.
he told so many stories of people that he's kind of been in the ring with, interacted with over the years, all the experiences that he's had. Such a lovely guy. But that's just kind of one of maybe about 40 interviews that I've done out of the 160 episodes. Like I say, I've done so many kind of review episodes of WWE and AEW pay-per-views, NXT shows, NXT UK, and Yeah, too many to mention. Like I say, that was a really, really hard question. But I think, I've been lucky enough to interview so many fantastic people. I think Mike Mad Dog Angus being the public's favourite interview, my favourite interview. Yeah, besides Mike and Chantel has to be Mike Seidel. So that's some of my favourite ones anyway.
That's amazing. So, who do you want to have on the podcast in 2021 or in the future?
Wow. I think I would love to interview some other UK indie talent. Lana Austin, certainly. I'd love to have her on the podcast. I've recently kind of been watching matches from Mad Kurt. I don't know if you've heard of Mad Kurt,
Yeah,
but he's a crazy guy, an amazing personality, a wonderful character. He gets a lot of punishment in the ring, but he's such a brilliant character. I think he's going places. I'd love to have him on the show. I'd love to interview one of your favourites, one of my favourites, Paul Robinson.
Yes.
I think I'd love to really kind of find out more of the more personal side of Paul Robinson compared to what we see in the ring when he's wrestling for DNA or for Progress Wrestling. Yeah, I mean, I've interviewed so many big kind of UK indie talents, such as Forrest Hayes and Big Effing Joe, and so many others. But I think I'd also like to interview maybe some WWE talent or NXT UK talent. Flash Morgan Webster is definitely up there. I'd love to speak to Flash Morgan Webster. Saxton Huxley, I'd love to interview. Who else? I'd love to interview A-Kid. I think A-Kid would definitely be on my list. Yeah, and he's got an amazingly bright future. Just won the Heritage Cup, of course, on NXT UK. But I mean, we were so lucky to live on this little island called UK with such amazing kind of wrestling talent, whether they've been signed by WWE already or still doing work on the indies. I think we're so fortunate to kind of have so much amazing wrestling talent at our fingertips, and kind of when wrestling starts happening again after the pandemic, I can't wait to see a lot of the names that I've mentioned. But another really good question, Kyle. There's a few people that's on my kind of bucket list, wish list that I'd like to interview. Some indie names and some NXT UK names for sure. So
let's talk about the network. How did it all come apart, happen?
Really good question. So as you know, I've done the Wrestling with Jonas podcast for a couple of years now, hitting the ground running. Like I said, I've done some big interviews this year as well with Adam Maxted and one or two others. But I think it all came about around about April or May last year, when I was looking to introduce a second show under the Wrestling with Jonas banner, under the Wrestling with Jonas family, and I put together a group of 6 individuals who have all guested on the Wrestling with Jonas podcast before. I thought they would kind of gel together really, really well, and I put them together in a group, introduced them. I gave them the kind of I empowered them or gave them the opportunity to come up with their own concept for their own show, and to come up with their own logo, their own artwork, and kind of what the show was going to be named. And the Turnbuckle Arms was born. So they are the 6 hosts, the Brood, as they are collectively known, who host the Turnbuckle Arms every month with their main show, and every couple of weeks with mini episodes. And that worked really, really well. They kind of gelled together really, really well. They've been very supportive of what we're trying to achieve. But that was just 2 shows, the Turnbuckle Arms and Wrestling with Jonas. And during my 2-month break through November and December, I had time to think. And I've always had in the back of my mind that the Turnbuckle Arms podcast has gone really, really well. I wanted to do more like that, and I wanted to give people an opportunity to start their own program, to start their own podcast or YouTube channel. First of all, I approached other members of the Brood to see if they were interested in maybe hosting or running a podcast or a show of their own, which some of them have, and I can talk about them individual shows a bit later. And since then, I think we've got a good handful of shows that are part of the Wrestling with Jonas family, or the Jonas Podcasting Network. I already had the website, wrestlingwithjonas.com, so I thought that would be a great home, a great kind of base or a great platform to start hosting these new shows. That's where you'll find all the Wrestling with Jonas episodes and all the Turnbuckle Arms episodes, and it's just a matter of making the website bigger and more sturdier to handle all the other new shows that are coming on board. Yes, I mean, there were some new shows announced yesterday, but the shows that we had before yesterday were, of course, the Turnbuckle Arms, Wrestling with Jonas podcast, Grappuccino Thoughts, which is going to be hosted by Lexi Helms, and she's a member of The Brood, a member of the Turnbuckle Arms podcast, and she's going to be dropping her first episode or launching the Grappuccino Thoughts podcast in March. We've got Matt Bayliss, a longtime friend of mine, and I've been to many wrestling shows with Matt, and he's also part of the Turnbuckle Arms. He's already recorded 3 episodes of Pull Up a Seat, his new interview wrestling podcast, with the first one dropping today, where he interviews me once again to find out more about my love for wrestling, podcasting, and the network. And he's interviewed other people. I think he's interviewed the general manager of Kamikaze Pro and other kind of wrestling friends of his. You've got Nick Towers, another wrestling podcast friend of mine who's been on my show many, many times. He's going to be launching Work the Left Side wrestling podcast from February. And that's 5 up until yesterday when we had a big announcement, Kyle. So I don't know if you want to kind of take the stage and tell us what part of that announcement was.
So yesterday, guys, some of you may know, some of you may not. It got announced that Kyle Wrestling is now part of the network. So, Jonas, what does this mean for the channel?
Well, it means even more great content and even more great content creators coming on to the Jonas Podcasting Network, which, of course, can be found at wrestlingwithjonas.com. And Kyle Wrestling, I mean, Kyle, I've been a fan of yours and a friend of yours for quite a long time now. Yeah. I've seen you grow as a content creator. I've seen you grow as an interviewer and as a YouTuber. And you've interviewed some really, really impressive people from the UK scene. And what it means is we get your entire back catalogue on the Jonas Podcasting Network, which is actually up there now. Kyle Wrestling has his own channel on the Jonas Podcasting Network, wrestlingwithjonas.com, where you can click on his channel and find all of his episodes there and any future episodes as well. Kyle will also have his own authors page. So if you click on the authors tab at the top of the screen and find Kyle's wrestling, you will not only find a couple of sentences about Kyle and about his love for wrestling and about the content that he creates, but you'll also find all of his episodes there as quick links. So you can go to his channel to find all of his episodes, or go to his authors page to find all the quick links, and you should have a lot of Kyle's social links there as well, so you can reach out to Kyle and say hi to him on his various social media platforms. But what it essentially means, to answer your question, is that I'm creating a bit of a podcast community, and I like to refer to it as a podcast family. We're all there to support one another, to promote one another's new releases, to help one another if we need any assistance with whatever it might be, technical aspects in making graphics or editing or putting shows together, or just kind of supporting one another as a guest maybe on one of the shows every so often. But I'm building this podcast community. Besides Kyle's wrestling podcast, YouTube content that will be up on that's already up on the website, wrestlingwithjonas.com. We also announced a 7th show, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report, which is hosted on a weekly basis. Sometimes multiple shows drop on a weekly basis by the Ultimate One from New York City, and that's a really, really good show to have on the network to showcase another fantastic content creator. So that's number 6, number 7, and even in the last 24 hours, Kyle, I've had people approach me wanting to be part of the network.
Wow.
I can see within the next couple of months having quite a few podcasts and YouTube channels up there on the Jonas Podcasting Network, which can all be found kind of all in one place at wrestlingwithjonas.com. And like I say, I like to see it as a community of podcasters, community of content creators, where we can all look out for one another, support one another's efforts, and help to kind of make each other bigger and more successful. And hopefully it will kind of go some way to kind of making some dreams come true in terms of creating some really, really good content out there.
That's amazing. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, you're very, very welcome. One more thing about the website is not only can you find it on your phone or your laptop or your desktop or your tablet as a website, but you can also download it directly to your phone as like an app. Really, you can save it as like a desktop icon to your phone, so you can just click on it, which takes you straight to the platform, straight to wrestlingwithjonas.com, where you can find all the fantastic content. A click of a button, and so that you can listen to all of the amazing content, all the fantastic podcasts and YouTube channels on the go, with your walking the dog or on the bus on the way to work. It makes it even more accessible for people to listen to your content or to watch your content and mine and all the other fantastic stuff up there. But definitely a place to go if you're a wrestling fan, and definitely a place to go if you enjoy listening to interviews and wrestling reviews, show reviews from pay-per-views or big shows from around the world. You've got some amazing talent, some amazing content creators and podcasters and YouTubers, and more to come on wrestlingwithjonas.com. So yeah, a really exciting place to be part of, and I'm thrilled for yourself, Kyle, being a part of the network now. Thrilled for yourself.
I'm really chuffed. So happy.
Yes.
So guys, make sure you check it out. It's an amazing webpage, that was one big news. Number two is Kyle Wrestling is back, and it's bigger than ever. We are reviewing, interviewing, all sorts. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to be reviewing loads of different UK independent shows for the start: TNT Extreme Wrestling, Progress, and DNA for now. That'll lead on to pay-per-views of WWE, NXT, things like that later on. So much more to come in the coming months. There's going to be a few more interviews coming out soon. Yeah, it's just bigger than ever.
Oh, that's fantastic news. That's great news, Carl, that you're really starting the new year with a bang.
Yeah, thank you. It's just that little while I had off, made me bigger and stronger for this channel.
Indeed. And I think I'm going to be a guest on some of your shows to help review some content that we're going to be watching on Powered 4 TV. So I really look forward to being a guest on your show to kind of talk about some of your favourite wrestling shows. I'm really, really happy that you've come back 2021, and happy to have you on the Jonas Podcasting Network as well, Kyle. It's going to be a bright future for both of us by the looks of it.
It sure is. Thank you so much. A massive thank you to all my sponsors: Superstar Pro Wrestling, 1310 Apparel, Powered 4 TV, who I do bits and bobs with. Just thank you to all my fans and family, Jonas, all the other guys that support me, Stu's Wrestling Podcast, Keep It Locked with Simon Hill, so many different people, Yeah, and just keep supporting me and everybody else in the podcasting. So, Jonas, where can people find you?
Okay, so I'm all over social media. You can find the Wrestling with Jonas Facebook community page, first of all, if you just search on Facebook Wrestling with Jonas, and that's Jonas spelled Johnners. A really fun, lively, friendly, interactive community group. We've got 1,100 followers, looking to grow it even further. So a really good place for people to kind of have conversation about pro wrestling. And to share their content on there as well. You can also find Wrestling with Jonas on Instagram at Wrestling with Jonas, and we're also on Twitter at @withjonas_pod. So you can find us all over social media. Please reach out, say hi. I'm more than happy to kind of engage with people and kind of talk to people about pro wrestling or about podcasting. If you want to find out more about the podcast, just visit us on any of those platforms, or just go to the website and see all the fantastic podcasting content we got there as part of the Jonas Podcasting Network, and that's wrestlingwithjonas.com.
Thanks so much for joining me today, mate. It's been amazing. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe and continue supporting me. See you again soon.